What up, everybody? Power Book Force, Season 3, Episode 7. Starts out with Stacy Marks having a nightmare about getting arrested for corruption, obstruction of justice, and the murder of Claudia Flynn. And when she woke up, it showed she was drinking heavily with a bottle next to her, as her conscience is now torn between her ambition to become mayor and her moral compass, something Simon Stern once said about Ghost. As it was also revealed this episode that Stacy Marks got into law enforcement because her little brother was killed by a stray bullet from gang activity, and she vowed to always be one of the good guys. As she was telling this story to her campaign manager, she was also told that she was currently in the lead after her most recent press conference when she talked about arresting Gabriel Ortega for Claudia's murder and taking down the Marquez and Estrada cartels. While Tommy started off the episode meeting up with Shanti, collecting as she told him that Elisa's mother agreed to continue to let them move product out of her clubs. At this point, they both got a text about an emergency coalition meeting, and Shanti couldn't attend the meeting and asked Tommy to cover for her. But when Tommy was supposed to be going to the meeting, he also got a text from Peter, the leader of the Albanians, wanted to meet up so he could tell Tommy about what Vic and his crew did and how they took out his men. Except Peter acted like he wasn't sure if it was Vic Flynn or not because Vic and his crew wore masks. But Tommy assured Peter that he would handle it. When Tommy showed up to the coalition meeting, it was already over, and Diamond, Jannard, and Raheem were sitting there talking as Diamond called Madam Wu fine as and Jannard warned him not to her. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward. But when Tommy got there, Diamond let him know everybody had already dipped and the vote was unanimous to start moving Fetty. Jannard also let Tommy that he was the one who made the deal happen. And even though Tommy wasn't happy about this deal, he rolled over pretty easy and didn't push back too much about it either. Probably because he notices that Jannard is starting to get in Diamond's head. But when Raheem was leaving, he mentioned that Shanti was going to throw a fit about it because she isn't with Fetty, as Tommy overheard him telling this to Jannard, and he was supposed to be reporting back to Shanti what the coalition meeting was about. But at this point, Tommy also told Diamond how Peter's spot got hit. So Tommy and Diamond sent Jannard to talk to Vic to see if it was him who hit Peter's bar. When Jannard asked Tommy what he was supposed to say, Tommy gave him two addresses, most likely the addresses of Ray and Beth. As we know, one of the addresses was Ray because Jannard told Vic that Tommy knows about her and said that's where he was supposed to go next if Vic didn't get in line. But Jannard also told Vic that he should serve somebody up to Tommy to say that they were who hit the Albanians. And before Jannard left, he got into Vic's ear in regards to Tommy and also let Vic that he owes him for helping him out. Something else to keep in mind is that before Jannard walked in, Vic was leaving Ray a voicemail telling her to let him know that she was okay. So Vic hasn't heard from Ray for a minute, maybe since Tommy walked in on them last episode. He might have even sent her out of town, like he suggested her getting out of town last episode. So that could have also been why he hadn't heard from her, because she might have left town. When Jannard left Vic's, he sent Shanti a text message, seeing if she was done ghosting him when he mentioned her boyfriend can cook, an Easter egg to Chris Lofton, who plays Jannard's podcast, Your Boyfriend Can't Cook. But at this point, Tommy showed up at Shanti's, bringing her double the product. And Tommy didn't use this opportunity, knowing that Shanti didn't know anything about Jannard making a move with the Fetty, to tell her she must be so proud about her man making big moves, and told her about the Fetty deal that Jannard made. And that was what the coalition meeting was all about. At this point, Shanti snapped and also let Tommy know that Jannard had been strung out on heroin before he got back in CPI, and that Diamond knew about it. But Tommy went from smirking when he found out about Jannard's problem to looking like he was about to be on demon time when he found out that Diamond knew. So Shanti then told Tommy that it looks like the Sampson brothers were playing both of them. After meeting up with Shanti, Tommy went back to his loft to look at the pictures of their baby's ultrasound with Mireya. And at this point, Mireya mentioned how when she first met Tommy, he said that he didn't see kids in his future. But Tommy told Mireya that she changed everything for him. But Shanti wasn't the only person who was hesitant about the new product. Because when Kendra, the CEO, went to meet up with Diamond, she first noticed that Diamond was drinking now, and he told her that he's doing a lot of new things. And when he told her about the Fetty and she pushed back, Diamond got aggressive with Kendra and told her to do what he tells her to. Diamond even let Kendra know that he didn't give a fuck about the bodies that it might drop. He was only concerned about the paper he was going to make. So Kendra, who knew Diamond from when he was locked up, definitely starting to see the changes in his behavior. After Tommy and Stacy Marks framed Gabriel Ortega for Claudia's murder in episode 6, Chan and 2 members of the Marquez cartel paid Bill Sang a visit and threatened his life if he didn't get it taken care of. And knowing that Stacy was covering for somebody, Sang started pushing back against her and saying that something didn't seem right. While Roberto Ortega was sending his hitter Titus to go after both Miguel and Tommy now. And because Miguel already knew the Marquez were coming for him after getting the text with the flower from Ortega at the end of episode 6, he was telling his crew, the Insane Princess, to get ready for war. But when they asked why the Marquez would be coming for them, he lied and told them it was because they had a problem with the Serbs and they wanted a foothold in the city and were trying to take their territory. But when Cruz told Miguel he had his back, Miguel told Cruz to keep eyes on his sister. But this might be Titus's first hit because Miguel was able to avoid getting taken out by Titus and his partner, as Titus stabbed his partner instead of Miguel, and Miguel left Titus running away. What I don't understand is how they caught Miguel without his strap, knowing that the Marquez cartel is coming for him. But after Titus wasn't able to get the job done and he talked to Ortega again, he mentioned to Ortega that the word on the street was Miguel's sister is pregnant with Tommy's child. So Ortega instructed Titus to go after Mireya first to make Tommy suffer. And also notice how Ortega had a picture of a spider next to him, a callback to the Jimenez card that they used to leave behind. So after the flower last week and the picture of the spider in this episode, I definitely think that Ortega is related to the Jimenez, likely cousins. But the big question is, how did the word get on the street already that Mireya is pregnant? Because we already know that Tommy isn't going to tell anybody. So I think most likely Miguel told Cruz, and that's how the word got on the street. So that also means Miguel most likely really can't trust Cruz like he thinks he can. Cruz might be upset that Miguel didn't follow through with taking out Tommy, but saved him instead and put his gang at risk of going to war with the Marquez cartel. But at the same time, there's also a chance that it was Stacy Marks who put the word out about Mireya being pregnant on the street, as she showed up to Tommy's place earlier in the episode to try to scare Mireya when she saw the baby stuff sitting on the counter. After finding out about Jannard's problem from Shanti, Tommy put a plan in motion, sending Jannard to make a delivery to Shanti at one of the clubs at the Viagra Triangle. But before Jannard left, Tommy let him know that he knew he was trying to get to Diamond, but he was going to have to go through him first. When Jannard told Tommy that he was just going to have to go through him then, and he would have fun killing him. After sending Jannard to the VT, Tommy texted Shanti and told her to meet him there in an hour for a pickup. So when Jannard got there, the bartender told Jannard that Shanti wasn't there. Then one of the strippers, Jade, approached Jannard to try to get him to hook up and get high with her. But Jannard turned her down at first, but after sitting there for a minute and having a drink, he ended up giving in to the temptation. So as Jannard was high as a kite, smashing Jade in the woman's restroom, and Jannard picked a bad time to finally stand up for himself, telling her that she works for him and that he doesn't need her. So that relationship is officially done, as Shanti then took a baseball bat to Jannard's Lambo. And at the end of the night, Tommy dropped off a package of money to Jade, as he had set the whole thing up to get Jannard caught by Shanti. After Jannard told Vic he needed to find a scapegoat to pin the Albanian hit on, Vic called over Connor from the Northside Irish crew, and Vic talked about how him and Connor grew up together and how Connor was like an older brother to him, but the two grew apart. And we can see why from when Connor was talking, as he's all about the old Irish traditions, something Vic doesn't care about. Then Vic killed Connor, shooting him twice in the back and dropping him on a white rug, a callback to season 1 when Claudia took out the Dahlia Connect. When Vic showed Tommy Connor's body and said he went rogue, Tommy threatened Vic if he couldn't keep his crew in line, he'd be next, and told him to deliver Connor to Peter. At this point, Vic told Tommy that his girl should be off limits, but Tommy told Vic that nobody's off limits with him. Something Tommy should really think about, because I know Tommy doesn't want Mireya to be targeted. This episode, D-Mac brought Genesis over to JP's house for dinner after earlier in the episode, JP stopped by to talk to D-Mac to let him know that he accepts him for who he is and that he'll always be there for him, and even called him D-Mac instead of Darnell. And I think that's when he really broke through with D-Mac. But at this dinner, Atlanta was brought up again, as Genesis wants to go to Spelman, and she suggested that D-Mac go to Morehouse because all he has to do is take the GED test after scoring 1,400 on his SAT. And after asking about Kate earlier in the episode, calling her the old lady, after dinner, D-Mac called his grandma to apologize, as Kate's in New York attending AA meetings trying to stay sober. The next day, after sabotaging Jannard and Shanti's relationship, when Tommy went to check on Shanti because he didn't see her at the club, she warned him to watch his back, and his days are numbered with CBI. Then she told him how Diamond and Jannard tried to get D-Mac killed by the 9/7s. Because of that, Tommy went to immediately confront Diamond, who was hanging out with D-Mac, Marshall, Jannard, and Bones. And he also let Jannard know that he knew he was high because he played him the night before with Jade. And when Tommy told Jannard he was out of CBI, even though Jannard was high, Diamond still had his back. And when Tommy kept talking about Jannard, tired of how Tommy's been treating his brother, Diamond finally snapped and pushed Tommy to the ground, and the two got into a fight before ultimately getting broke up. And after they fought, Diamond told Tommy he was out of CBI and he should have never let him walk the streets of Chicago. While CBI was being split in half, Miguel was talking to Che about how the Marquez cartel came for him and wanted the green light to go to war. But Che told him that he didn't have the manpower and he needed to get more soldiers like CBI had with their coalition. After Tommy popped up on Stacy Marks early in the episode, calling her his employee of the month, and thinking about why she got started in the first place because of her little brother, Stacy called Bobby DeFranco to meet up with him and told him that she was compromised. And when he asked if it was Tommy Egan, she didn't say anything, but she didn't have to, he could tell. And DeFranco suggested that Stacy do whatever she had to make it right. And when he offered to help her, she told him that she would take care of it herself. So the episode concluded with Tommy meeting up with Stacy Marks, as she ultimately decided to let her moral compass win over her ambition as she decided to tell Tommy that she was done working for him and that she would accept the consequences. And as she tried to arrest him for Claudia's murder, Tommy took out Stacy Marks. So with DeFranco knowing that Stacy was compromised because something to do with Tommy, he'll definitely be coming for Tommy now, knowing that it was most likely Tommy who took out his wife. Also notice how Stacy had her phone in her hand when Tommy killed her, and Tommy didn't pick up the phone before he walked off. So she could have potentially even been recording the entire conversation, even Tommy killing her, which would be the second time Tommy got recorded catching the body, going back to OG Power when he took out Ruiz. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.